Hello, everybody. My name is Bart Edson. I've been a real estate photographer in the Napa and Sonoma wine country in Northern California for over 12 years, and I started this channel to help passionate photographers like you get started in real estate photography and launch your own real estate photography business. The topic of today's video are 4 must-know tips for delivering your photos like a pro to your real estate clients. Let's get started. So why am I advocating that you use these best practice tips that we're about to get into? Well, first of all, I really want you to stand out among your competition. Some of the things I'm going to suggest in the coming slides here, a lot of photographers don't do, and I want you to separate yourself from your competition and show realtors that you understand their needs and that you're giving them a more luxury experience. That is, you're going the extra mile to make things extra convenient and easy and smooth and with zero confusion. And these tips are going to help you do just that. And your realtor clients are really going to appreciate you for putting in the extra effort. And my goal for you is for you to become the favorite option as a real estate photographer for the established and especially the luxury realtors in your area. So to put these tips into some context, let's review how realtors actually use your photos once you deliver them to them. Obviously, the first thing they're going to do is upload your photos to the MLS, get them in the system, so all the realtors in their area now know that this listing is available for sale. When they upload their photos to the MLS, it also goes out to websites like Zillow and Realtor.com. They're also going to use these photos for their own social media sharing to promote the listing that way. They may also be placing online ads. And the commonality between all these methods of promoting their listing is that your photos will be viewed on screens, either on people's phones, on their laptops, desktops, iPads, etc. And then they will also use your photos for things like flyers. In most major towns and cities, once a week they have a broker's open. And that is where all the brand new listings hold open houses for the realtors in their areas. And the realtors go around and take a look at all these new listings. And the listing agent for these new homes on the market like to have flyers on the kitchen counter with your photos on them so the other realtors can take something with them in case they come across a potential buyer for that listing. Listing agents will also use your photos on postcards. It's common that when they have a listing in a neighborhood, they may send out a postcard with your photo on it to all the neighborhood houses around that listing in hopes that they may acquire some more business from homeowners who are in the process of thinking about putting their home on the market. They'll also use your photos for print ads in magazines and newspapers. They may also print out brochures. They may print out booklets. And sometimes they even use your photos on signs and large-scale billboards. And what all of these things have in common is that your photos are going to be printed out. So we really have 2 categories of uses for your photos. One is when your photos will be viewed on screens, and the other is when your photos will be viewed through something that has been printed. And this leads us to our first must-know tip. And even though I'm calling it a tip, it's really something that's mandatory. When you're done editing your photos, you need to output 2 different sets of photos and deliver 2 different sets of photos to your clients. The first set I call web, and these are the ones that are optimized for viewing on screens. I have some specs here. I make my web photos 3,800 pixels on the longest edge with a resolution of 72 dpi. The second set I deliver I call print. These are the high-resolution files for all their print output, and the longest edge on these are 5,760 pixels with a resolution of 300 dots per inch. Now, if you try and print out web-optimized photos, you're going to get pixelation, and they're not going to look very nice. And if you send over just the print versions, they are going to be unnecessarily large for all the uses on the internet, and their size can cause problems on the back end for the realtors. And how did I come up with these particular specs for each set of photos? Well, a couple years back, I was the in-house photographer for Vanguard Properties in San Francisco. Shout out to those folks. And they had a great marketing department. They had some great printed material they would generate. They had a great online marketing campaign style. And the marketing director gave me these specs, and I've used them ever since. I figured they knew what they were doing, and so ever since then, I've used these exact numbers, and now I pass them on to you. Okay, must-know tip number 2. This tip has to do with how you actually name your JPEG files that you're going to deliver to your clients and how you name the folders that you put them in. And this is where some photographers might kind of roll their eyes. And to be honest, I don't see many real estate photographers actually doing this. But this is where you can really help out your client on the back end, show that you understand their needs, that you're going the extra mile to make sure that they will not have any confusion about the photos that you deliver to them. What I like to do is always put the listing address in the folders that I'm delivering the photos in. And I'll usually deliver a set of 3 folders. There'll be a top-level folder that just has the listing address as the name of the folder. Then inside that folder, I have 2 other folders, one for the web-optimized photos and the other for the print-optimized photos. And the names of these folders, I like to put, as I have an example here, the listing address 123 Main Street -web 123 Main Street -print. And so the realtor immediately knows which set is which, and there is no confusion. Now, I wouldn't recommend just naming these subfolders web and print, because sometimes the realtor will separate these folders. They may send one folder to their internet marketing person. They may send another folder to a newspaper editor. And yes, it says whether they're web optimized or print optimized, but they've now been separated from the top level folder with listing address in this scenario, and it can cause confusion. What are these photos for? Which listing do they belong to? So I like to have the listing address in all the folder names, as well as whether this particular set is for the web or for the print. And taking this down into the file naming convention, I like to do the same thing. I like to have every single JPEG file named with the listing address and whether it's a web or a print optimized version. And then I like to put a sequential number at the very end of the name. So you see here 123 Main Street -web -1 and then -2 -3, etc. And the same with your print versions, except this time you change web to print. And I'm going to show you in just a second how you can use Lightroom to set up this template for this naming convention. Now, what I see some real estate photographers do is they just leave the JPEG names with the name that their camera randomly assigned the frame. And so you'll get a set of photos that have names like 04837.jpg. And this is not really helpful to anybody. It doesn't say anything about the photo itself, and it can cause confusion on the back end. So, tip number 2, always put the listing address in the names of your folders and your files, as well as whether it's a print or a web-optimized version. And for your photo files themselves, increment them, starting with the number 1 and then going upward so that they're easy to refer to. If a realtor just wants to refer to photo number 5 in the web set, photo number 10 in the print set, etc., this is going to be really helpful to them and avoid all confusion. Tip number 3 has to do with the order that you put your photos in when you deliver them to your client, otherwise known as image sequencing. Now, you might think that the logical way to do this is to show a picture of the front of the house, show the front door next, show what's inside the front door after that, and then sort of take your viewer on a walking tour of the home. I would say if your home is higher end, if it's a larger home, don't do this. Why? Because we want to put our hero shots first. And oftentimes the front door shot and the half bath just inside the front door are not hero shots. Now, there is a caveat here. For smaller, modest homes, it may end up being a walking tour. You walk in, there's the living room, then there's the kitchen, then there's the dining room, and then there's a couple of small bedrooms and a bathroom. And so for those homes, yeah, it may just end up that it ends up being a walking tour. But if you've got a luxury home or a larger home, it's going to have beautiful kitchens, a beautiful great room. It may have a pool. It may have beautiful views. And you really want to put those hero shots first. These are the shots that the realtor client is really going to be looking for. These are the shots that they're going to use for their advertising. They're going to be the lead shots in the MLS. And so you want to satisfy their curiosity. Did he or she provide the hero shots I'm looking for? And so you want to put them up front first and give your realtor client a great experience as soon as they open up your folders and take a look at your photos for the first time. Now, on some of the shoots that I do, actually a lot of them, I shoot twilight photos. And these are usually the hero shots. And so I put all my twilight photos up front as the first photos the client sees when they open up the folders. And then I usually group together all the exterior shots. I don't like to scatter them through the portfolio. Oftentimes there's beautiful views, there's beautiful pools. And so, again, these are kind of money shots, hero shots that they're going to use in their advertising. I don't want them hunting through the portfolio for them. I want them to see them all up front right off the bat. After those, I like to go inside and then sort of work down a priority list of the most impressive to the least impressive. Oftentimes there's a very large-scale great room, so I'll put those up front. The kitchen is always very important to buyers and to the realtors, so the kitchen shots are up at the front of the portfolio. From there, I usually move to the master bedroom and the master bathroom. That's where some of the nicer finishes in the house are going to be. And then from there, I sort of do the rest in logical order, put the spare bedrooms together and the bathroom they share, maybe put that laundry room last, etc. And the whole idea here is that you want to get a whoa reaction when the realtor opens up the photos for the first time, like, yes, I got my hero shots. These look great. And so to do that, tip number 3, put your hero shots first in your portfolio that you deliver. All right, here we are in Lightroom, and I'm going to show you how to export out your 2 sets of files with that file naming template that I mentioned earlier. I will say the first thing you have to do is go out into your file system and create your folder structure that you'll be exporting these files to. As you can see, I've got a main level folder here with the listing address as the folder name. Inside I've got my print folder and my web folder, and I include the listing address in the folder name as well. And I do put the term JPEGs in there just to let the realtor know these are going to be JPEG files and not some other file type like TIFFs or something like that. So back in Lightroom, you'll see that I do have my hero shots all up front. These are my twilight shots. I then have the exterior shots. It's got a nice pool. It's got a nice view. And so I like to have those all up front so right away the realtor can see that they have some good advertising material to work with. So the first thing we do is select all the photos that you want to export with a Control A on the PC. Then we go up to File and Export. And in this export window, we're going to concentrate on 3 sections. One is the export location, then there's the file naming, and then there's the image sizing. So the first thing we want to do is choose the folder that we're going to export to. So we browse to our Main Street folder. We're going to export the web versions first, so I select that folder. Then I come down here and I'm going to choose to rename these files, so I have to check the rename to, and I'm going to choose the custom name with the sequence option. And when you choose the sequence option, it gives you a start number, and it will then give you a sequential numbered list of files at the end of the export. And what are we going to make that custom name be? Well, it's going to be 123 Main Street, and we're going to say -web, and it'll add a 1, 2, and 3, and 4 to the end of that. Coming down to the image sizing, I'm going to resize to fit the longest edge to 3800 and 72 pixels per inch resolution. So we have our destination, we have our custom file naming set up, we have the correct size and resolution, so we come down here and click the export button, and these files now will start to export out. And the files pop up, and we can see that indeed it did do our naming template correctly. 123 Main Street -web -1 -2 -3 -4. So that is just perfect. We're going to do this again, but this time we're going to choose to output our print optimized files. And so we're going to repeat the process. Our files are all still selected, so we just go up to File, Export. We're going to change the folder that we're going to export these versions to. So I go up one level and then come back down to my print folder. We can leave everything the same because it remembers our last settings. The only thing I'm going to change is the word web to print. And then I'm going to come down and change the size to 5760, our magic numbers, and a resolution of 300 pixels per inch. And then hit the export button again. Once again, you can see them start to export out, and those files should pop up in just a second. And here they are. And once again, we have our naming convention correct: 123 Main Street print -1 -2 -3 -4. So now I've got all my files in the correct folders, 2 sets, and so I will then just upload this main folder to Dropbox and then send the Dropbox link to my Realtor client. And finally, must-know tip for delivering your photos like a pro to your real estate agent clients. Number 4 is less to do with the photos themselves and is more of a communication issue. And that is, you need to every single time be absolutely clear with your client on the exact delivery date and time when you will be delivering your photos to them. Now, when a real estate agent sits down with a potential client of their own, a homeowner who is thinking about bringing their home to market, they're going to make promises to the homeowner about their marketing strategy in order to get them to sign the listing agreement. They're going to make promises about when the listing will go live. They're going to make promises about when ads are going to appear in local newspapers and magazines. And the last thing you want is for your real estate agent client to miss these deadlines and thereby look bad in front of their homeowner clients, all because you weren't clear on exactly when they were going to receive your photos. Another deadline that realtors have are with their weekly brokers opens, which happen on a particular day of every week. And as I said, they like to have those flyers on the kitchen counters so the other realtors can take them with them. And if they are unclear about when they're going to receive your photos and they happen to miss the broker's open for the week they were hoping for, well, that can be crushing to a realtor because they're very anxious to get the word out about their new listing. And if they miss that week's broker's open, they lose an entire week and they have to wait until the following week to announce their new listing in this way to the other local realtors in their area. And finally, there are advertising deadlines in newspapers and magazines to get their photos submitted for the weekend edition, the Sunday real estate section. And that's a deadline you don't want your realtor client to miss. And that's why I say specify also the time in addition to the day that you're going to be delivering the photos to them. And it doesn't have to be an exact time, but for example, if you tell your realtor client that you're going to get the photos to them by Friday and you deliver them Friday at 5 p.m., well, that doesn't do them a lot of good if they had a deadline at Friday noon. So I always like to say you'll have your photos first thing Friday morning, 8 a.m., something like that. And so, again, this is to help you stand out, always make things smooth and easy, convenient, with no confusion with you and your real estate client. So tip number 4, always be very clear on the exact delivery date and time when you will be delivering your photos. In summary then, the 4 must-know tips for delivering photos like a pro to your realtor clients that will help set you apart from the other real estate photographers in your area are: number 1, always deliver 2 sets of photos, one set optimized for the web, the other set optimized for print output. Tip number 2, always use the listing address in all of your folder names and all of your file names. Tip number 3, sequence your images from the most impressive to the least impressive. Put those hero shots first. And tip number 4, always be very clear on the exact delivery date and time where you will be delivering your photos to your realtor clients. I hope those 4 tips were helpful to you. If you enjoyed this content, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. But even more important than that, I want you to right now go get my 30-day real estate photography career jumpstart guide. This is a step-by-step blueprint that will take you from wherever you are right now and within 30 days have your real estate photography business up and running, complete with a killer portfolio before you even get your first client. I know that sounds crazy, but it's all in there. I made it just for you, and I'm giving it away absolutely free. You can get it at bartedson.com/jumpstart, and I hope to see you over there. Thanks, and have a great day.